Yo, what's happening? It's your boy Kodak 904, man. I'm back with another I'm back with another video. I was about to curse, but I ain't gonna even do all that. I'm back with another video, and we gonna check out this kid David, the one that had this young lady found in his car. Now, I don't know much about David, never heard of David, never heard of the situation. But now that everybody's talking about this new evidence, and allegedly he cut off her fingers and kept them and everything like that. So I don't know. We're gonna check it out. Hopefully, we're gonna you know find out some answers to our questions. So with further ado, let's get ahead on and jump into it. It's your boy Kodak 904, man. Check this out.
A very, very big David update came today. There was a big day in court. I unfortunately couldn't make it to court today, but we've got a whole bunch of updates. I've been collecting all of the news sources, all of the links, all of the paperwork, and I'm going to present it to you all today in one long video. And before we get into it, folks, there's definitely a big trigger warning. There are going to be some very grisly, violent themes that are going to be discussed in this video. This video obviously concerns the murder of Celeste, the 14-year-old girl who was found deceased in the trunk of David Tesla, out near his property.
May she rest in peace. She is an innocent young lady, so I never even met her. I don't know her, or nothing like that. But you can only imagine. She hasn't even lived her life yet. This young lady gone already. Let's go further, y'all. I'm gonna stop, pausing the video. Let's get ahead. I wanted to check it out and really listen to it because it really it kind of touched me in a way where I want to get to expose David also to my people that never heard of David as well. So that's why I'm recapping on a lot of things and reacting to a lot of things that's on YouTube. So check this out. We finna go a little further and a little deeper down this rabbit hole. What's happening to the chat? What's up? What's up? Go ahead, Carly. What's good?
So we're going to be talking about some of the very dark and grisly details about how he actually attempted to get rid of the body. And there's been some new information come out that is going to be very, very, very chilling. So that's my trigger warning for you guys. And, this video is for educational documentary purposes. We're just documenting all of this history, everything that's going on in this case, because look, I think David's going down, but we need to document everything. We need to preserve all of this evidence just for everybody to understand and to protect the community. So this is for educational, documentarian, journalistic purposes, but I'm telling you, some of the stuff we're going to hear in this is actually very, very, very dark. So look, I've got the full paperwork. Shout out to TMZ. They actually posted the paperwork.
Shout out to TMZ, y'all. Definitely TMZ. They always gonna get the news first.
There's a bunch of different articles. You've probably seen the posts going around on Instagram, things about the new updates in the case. You might have seen stuff like this going around, that prosecutors are claiming that David bought 2 chainsaws online, and we did hear that chainsaws were recovered in the property months ago as well.
Now, what in the world can you do with 2 chainsaws? And we all know what normal people do with chainsaws. So I'm saying, what exactly did he buy 2 chainsaws? You can only work one at a time. And even if he did buy 2 chainsaws, check it out. Where are they now?
The burn cage. And it's now being claimed by the prosecutors officially that David bought these chainsaws and used them to dismember the body inside of an inflatable pool in his garage. And then, people are connecting this to his old Discord messages when he said he loved watching gore videos. He was addicted to them, all this kind of dark stuff. Now, there's a whole bunch of things. There's dozens of posts with all different things going around. But what I'm going to do for you in this video, I'm going to read you the full paperwork. Then we're going to look at some of the articles.
Oh, crap. We got the paperwork. We got the paperwork from the law from the courts. Let's see what they're talking about.
And then I'm going to look at some of the reaction on Reddit. But, this is going to be a long one. I'm going to dig deep into this. There's been so many updates. I'm not going to do 3-4 different videos. We're just going to do one big video updating you, and you're going to learn absolutely everything that's in the paperwork in this video, okay? So get ready, okay? And this is the background facts of the case. Basically, the state is now admitting the roadmap for the evidence that they intend to introduce at the preliminary hearing that's scheduled for May the 1st. I don't know if that's now been delayed. I'm going to find out about that. But it says the dismembered body of 14-year-old Celeste was discovered in the front trunk of defendant's Tesla Model X on September the 8th, 2025. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior from 1405 Bluebird Avenue, which is parked approximately 400 feet from the defendant's home at 1368 Doheny Place in the Hollywood Hills. But here's where we're going to start seeing him get cooked, okay? Because new surveillance video is out, and it's been revealed publicly too. And I'll play it to you.
Now, I didn't know it was new surveillance out, but, I mean, we're going to get round to that too, I guess. Let's get it.
Later. And it says surveillance video and other evidence confirm that David, the defendant, was the last person to drive the Tesla on July the 29th, 2025, before he left LA on a concert tour. And so it says on September the 8th, 2025. Now, okay, a lot of people saying it was Neo driving that car. Turns out, according to the prosecution, it's David. It says on September the 8th, 2025, the manager of the tow yard complained of a strong smell coming from the vehicle, presence of flies coming from it. He called the LAPD. They observed the vehicle. They opened it up, and they found in the front storage compartment the black cadaver bag covered in insects, and inside the bag they found the severely decomposed head and torso. So we already found these details about the amputations. The plastic black garbage bag beneath the cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on the left hand had been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. So the body was identified with dental records, but this is now where we're going to start seeing, based on the evidence that the LAPD has found, they're going to build up the full timeline of what they believe the relationship, the romantic relationship, confirmed, according to the prosecution, allegedly, between Celeste and David. And this is very, very triggering, okay? Pursuant to their investigation, the LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined that the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was 11 years old. They begun...
11? This young lady was 11 years old. Oh, my God.
Adult relationship while she was still a minor.
Man, hide this dude, man. They need to hide this dude. He don't never... Oh man, he shamed his family, he shamed his mama, he shamed his sister. If he got a sister, he shamed his brother. If he got a brother, David, boy, I don't know, boy. This could have been handled a whole nother way, boy. I think you overstepped your boundaries on this one, boy. And ain't no getting out of this.
2023, when the victim was just 13 and the defendant was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Lake Elsinore, in February and April of 2024. So the Riverside County Sheriff's Department contacted the defendant. They phoned the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, called David on February the 17th, 2024. So all this talk of people emailed in and said to David, you need to send this girl home, she's missing. Well, the police, not the LAPD, but the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, right, called David. They identified a phone number in the victim's phone records belonging to him. And during the call, the defendant claimed, so David said he'd last spoken to the victim on February the 13th or 14th, but said he was unaware that she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. The sheriff from Riverside advised him that the LA Sheriff's Department were coming to his home. On that day, the defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. So the Riverside County Sheriff's Department requested LA Sheriff's Department conduct a welfare check at the defendant's home. So the LASD deputies went to David's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. David would claim he was unaware she was a minor and had only met the victim once in person in November 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim that he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. So she and the...
Don DeMarco, watch yourself. Ladies, please watch ourselves, man. And this goes out to my daughter's friends, everybody in the world that has a daughter. Ladies, please watch yourselves.
Property? Was she at the other property that was allegedly owned or rented by David during this time? This is crazy. And I think, unfortunately, this is going to be one of many examples that we're going to see where the police actually made contact with David before this tragedy was allowed to happen. The sole blame is on the person that killed this girl, allegedly David, but it sounds like there might have been some failures by the authorities. Where was she? Was she in the property and he just explained it away? But it's crazy. And he even showed a yearbook photo of her on his cell phone. What is that evidence of, like, oh, she's a graduate or whatever? Like, she's graduated high school or college. That's crazy. So it says, despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, David continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. And David drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone that David purchased so they could stay in contact. That is so creepy. And we're about to read something that's actually blown my mind, because I actually did see this previously. It said, throughout 2024, Celeste spent a significant amount of time with David, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. So we can't, there's a lot to unpack here, all right? Took a minor to Las Vegas, that's crazy. I just got back from Las Vegas, shit's crazy. That on its own is crazy. To London, international flights crossing borders. How was she even allowed to travel internationally to London as a minor? Who was her guardian? Who was her chaperone? Did the parents give permission? Can you just can you just traffic a minor overseas? We're talking Interpol, we're talking federal. You're taking a minor across state lines. And I don't want to hear a single word about, oh, his family didn't know anything. During 2024, the victim spent time with defendant traveling to Texas to meet his family. So the family knew her. The family knew her. So it goes on to say text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to sex, pregnancy, and abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraceptive. That is messed up, man. So there are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their estual relationship. And in November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continued to have adult relations. So it continues, all right. So it says April 2023, 2025 is the likely date of the victim's death and when all of her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engage in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. And again, before I go any further, I don't know how on earth this guy was even out here for 7 months. I don't know how on earth he thought he was going to get away with this. What, you've got an argument recorded in your text messages the night before and she just ceases to send any messages afterwards? This is so stupid that he would think he could get away with this. But anyway, it says the messages reveal that the victim was jealous over David's relationship with other women, as David had led her to believe that they had a future together. Celeste became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with David to end his career and destroy his life. David's first studio album was due to be released April 25, 2025. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He had also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. He ended up losing those, all as a result of this horrible decision. At approximately 8:40 p.m. on April the 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his house. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at the defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was.
I believe he knew exactly where she was every time she made a move. He knew it. They was constantly on the phone. There's no way you can play like you don't know this young lady or do something to her and actually get away with it. He can't get away with this.
Wow. So it's saying she was dropped off at 10:10, and then at 10:30, David thought he was being slick. He sent messages to her saying, "Where are you?" It says the people contend this was all part of David's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. Knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened, and very soon after her arrival at his home, David stabbed Celeste to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At no time did he call law enforcement enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to save her life. Despite knowing she was dead and that her family were trying to find her, the evidence will show that David lied and claimed that he didn't know where she was. In fact, the defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. So we now know this secret trip to Santa Barbara, it wasn't to go and bury the body. He allegedly drove immediately after to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April the 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone asking where she was. He thought he was slick. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after Celeste's vicious murder. The defendant drove his Tesla north on the 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154, near Lake Kahuma in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April the 24th, 2025, before going straight for a radio interview for the release of his album that week. That's crazy. We need to find that interview. That is actually... we're gonna dig up that interview for sure. I'm just taking a screenshot of this and reminding myself to go and dig into that, because that's insanity. What a psychopath. How could you possibly go to a radio interview this might be less than 12 hours after committing a vicious murder, allegedly. That's just insanity. What a dark soul. Says he sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. After April 26, 2025, David never attempted to contact her again. Crazy, man. So tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. See, how on earth could he have thought he was going to get away with this? So on April the 24th, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. What the hell? It says on May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. No way. On May the 5th, 2025, the defendant ordered from Amazon, which delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. Look, I don't think I'm not in the business of giving out tips on how to commit murder, but by God, ordering on Amazon to your own home, okay? He said he made these purchases under a fake name, Victoria Mendez. Like that was gonna... So he's smart enough to try and order things from Amazon, a literal body bag and chainsaws to his home off Amazon in a fake name. They're coming to your home. So it says on May the 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County. So it sounds like he actually did go back with the hope to bury the body, but didn't do it. So he returned to the very same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off of SR 145, where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. Wait. It said an isolated site where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered. So they found Celeste's ID in Santa Barbara, and they said that he actually went to deliver. That's crazy. So it goes on to say, additionally, on July the 7th, 2025, David ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. Now, you know what's crazy? Do you remember when Steve Fisher actually announced that they had found a full-blown unopened burn cage at David's property, and people were speculating, was that him planning to get rid of the body? And people saying, absolutely no way. Why would he have an unopened burn cage at his property? Oh, it wasn't even used. I thought at the time, okay, and a lot of people, it becomes common sense at a certain point, but like, it seemed that this guy was really just ordering shit off Amazon that he thought was going to save him and help him out in this situation, and he's unfortunately left a very blatant trail of breadcrumbs that is just going to cook him, absolutely cook him. I mean, the fact, if your defense is, well, the burn cage was never used, bro, I don't even know what to say to you. It's insane. So it says, moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor. So that's what the pool was for. He didn't want the blood on the floor. But as you're going to find out, it wasn't such a smart idea. The defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. So that speculation that she was cut up with a 3D printed hacksaw that might have left blue plastic, sounding like that's not true. Sounding like what's really happened is small blue plastic fragments that were from the blue pool, the kiddie pool, inflatable pool, was found embedded in the victim's remains. That's where the evidence has come from. He's cut through. It's very unfortunate we're even having to talk about this, but he's cut through a person and he's caught the blue plastic tarpaulin inflatable pool underneath it, and that's combined all of that material together in a way that the police have been able to get it. And thank God they were able to get it, because there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to explain this away, in my opinion. Okay. So it says the fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit, and an expert was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by the defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from Celeste, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name and her fingers have still not been recovered. The defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. And for several weeks or possibly months, David left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed the strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle.
That's messed up, man. Hold
on. He parked his Tesla on the street around the corner from his home.
Hold up, man. Woo! It's no way in America that this man did not know what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I had to stop for a minute because that's a lot to take in.
PD served a search warrant at the defendant's home, 1368 Doney Place, on September the 17th, after the victim was identified by the LA County Medical Examiner on September 16th. And inside the garage, detectives
I had to say a prayer for the young lady, man.
The dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. Several biological samples from the garage tested positive for blood and were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. Celeste blood's in the garage. How are we going to explain that? And then soon after, so they already found blood in the garage that matched the victim. On December the 9th, 2025, the medical examiner ruled the victim's death was a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. So they knew that for months. Then, on January the 17th, 2025, Celeste's US passport card was found by a Caltrans worker off of SR 154 in Santa Barbara County. And so now we're going to get into some really messed up stuff. I don't even know if I should. I'm just going to quickly skim this and make sure I'm not going to show something that's completely horrendous. But okay, I'm not going to show you that passage, but what it basically says is that he has illegal videos on his phone, and in those videos, she's 13. The videos are illegal. Enough said. But then beyond that, it says there's numerous text messages between David and Celeste evidencing their adult relationship, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraception. And apparently messages through March of 2025 prove the defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged him, "All we do is have S and just hang out, man. I want more than that from myself." And these are messages obtained from David's iCloud data. David's cellular activity and communications derived from Celeste's iPhone and Tesla. From David's iPhone and Tesla demonstrate David's activities from April 22nd to April 24th, 2025, including the trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at the Hollywood Hills home. They've also got surveillance video of the defendant driving his Tesla on July 29th, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. DNA evidence from bloodstains collected in the defendant's garage, which matches Celeste. Proof of David's Amazon purchases to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, a burn cage. Proof of David's purchase and delivery of a shovel from Postmates. Uber records showing, this is so bad, David's transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick Celeste up from her home in Lake Elsinore, transport her directly to his residence the night of April 23rd. How on earth did he think that he could text her and say, "Where are you? Where are you?" You're on record ordering the Uber from her home in Lake Elsinore, where she lives. It's not some accident random to your home. And she's never, you think a couple of texts, this guy is I can't even comprehend the thinking. It says proof of David's lucrative career as a singer-songwriter prior to April 23rd, 2025. David had an album release party on the night of April the 24th, 2025, and he was embarking on an international tour late July 2025. And there's text message exchanges between David and Celeste on April 22nd and April 23rd, where Celeste threatened to expose David and destroy his career. So yeah, that basically is that. All right, all of that evidence. It is hard not to see this guy is completely cooked in any sort of way. Okay, so look, this information has made the rounds now in a bunch of other places. I don't know if I will, read an entire article basically just rewording everything that we've just read, but as you can see, Rolling Stone have published sort of a very detailed account of this, and they're basically just going over all of this stuff that we've just seen in that paperwork. Okay, it is a lot to get through, as it says here. Okay, it says that basically they need more time to review the discovery that they just got. I wouldn't be surprised if we see David's lawyers dropping out. I'm not going to lie to you, we've just seen some of Pooh Shiesty's lawyers drop out. This evidence is so damning, I wonder if any of the defense could have even imagined things being this bad, David being this stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if he loses his lawyers. That's just my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if he loses the lawyers. They want to go over the discovery, see if they got a case. I don't think there's any defending this. What are they going to say? What's the defense going to be? And you saw that David's lawyers essentially said, we believe the evidence is going to show that David did not murder Celeste. Well, now we've just seen the evidence, and it's sounding like there's literally no other Uber from her house to David's house. Or what? He sends one text message afterwards saying, "Where are you?" and 2 in the morning. Like that's going to explain away blood in the garage. She's in your car. There's no defending this. There's absolutely no defending.
Sure
this.
enough, it.
So yeah, it's. There's just no what. How on earth can they defend this? Okay, so let's take a look at some responses. So this is some Reddit reaction to the filing that we just read through, and people are saying, so they're wondering if this picture of David allegedly paying off the friends. People saying, so like, is this the $1,000 for the cell phone? People saying yes. It says early on there were rumors kids spoke to the authorities, rumors he's paid said kid to get the phone to her, and it looks like that was accurate. So I always thought it was hush money. People are saying I thought it was hush money to keep the relationship quiet, but apparently that's what it was. He was paying the friends $1,000, saying, "Please, I'm trying to get in touch with Celeste. I'm not allowed to speak to her. Can you give her this phone from me? I'll give you $1,000." So this poor girl had no choice. You know, she tried to get away from him. The authorities tried to get her away from him, and he's over here paying $1,000 to classmates to go and force a phone on her so he can contact her. It's twisted, and he probably thought he was being cool, romantic, kooky, interesting, weirdo celebrity boyfriend, and like it's just so dark that he wouldn't leave this girl alone and basically stalked her all the way into his garage. And when she was going to expose him, he just killed her. It's actually twisted. So an interesting comment here, people saying this dude really ordered a shovel from Postmates to bury his child victim and then tried to pin the Amazon and Home Depot orders using a Latina woman's name. And he got them sent to his house, paid with his cards, not to mention paying digitally in the first place. Dumbass. Okay. So sad. And it says, yeah, her saying, "Man, I want more than that for myself." So sad. It says, how the F did he not get arrested sooner with all of this evidence? It says, it does seem like the parents were trying to stop her, at least when it started. This is so effed up. Amazon body bags is crazy. Okay, it says, I believe Celeste was angry at David for using her and just messing around with other girls, threatening to expose the relationship, and that's why he might have actually did it. People pointing out it's crazy. Celeste actually met David's family. They interviewed him about Celeste in 2024. I can't believe that. I can't believe that the police actually knocked on his door. The police knocked on his door about this girl, and it doesn't sound like they searched. They didn't find her. Where else could she have possibly been hiding? It's insane. It's actually insane. So there's just like lots of little tidbits of this information that's come out today is kind of getting basically posted on Reddit. People saying it's confirmed David killed Celeste because she found out he cheated on her and she was going to expose him. Said she was probably anxiously attached to him. He was all she knew. She's so sad that he groomed her that way. Justice for Celeste. So especially considering I missed the part where it says he broke up with her in November 2024. Justice for Celeste. Plus she knew him since 11. Just messed up. It says he's a Romeo PDF. He lures in the girls under the guise he would be their boyfriend, and David, being a musician, created a bigger draw. Then, when they age out, as we can see, Celeste was going to surpass him in height. He needed someone new to abuse, and poor Celeste probably was just confused with so many emotions. So yeah, because although it's like broke up in 2024, there's countless unconfirmed rumors and stories from others saying they were talking to David romantically before then, and especially considering the fact there's also a part where it says those photos of him that everyone thought was him paying off her friends was actually him giving them $1,000 to buy her a new phone so they could talk after her parents took her other phone. He definitely played with her to the point she was starting to see through him and his PDF ideology. It is so crazy. Okay, it is crazy. It says cheating on a child, that's not even possible. Say it for what it is. He was a PDF that groomed it and viciously murdered her. No relationship, right? It's messed up. So people are pointing out the detail of her allegedly being pregnant at some point. So it turns out that was true. It says prosecutors have evidence of Celeste being pregnant at some point, or at least in the conversations. They can't believe that he ditched the passport in Santa Barbara. DNA found in the garage. People just can't believe it. It is so crazy. So even the need for a plan B is evidence that he was doing something illegal. It's just so bad. So people are pointing out they did find blood in the garage. He used the blue kiddie pool, the same one that might have been found at the Texas farm. Now that's interesting. It says investigators served a search warrant at Burke's home in September 2025, where they allegedly discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in an inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. It doesn't. Did it say that they found? I don't think it said they found the pool. Yeah, that's the blue plastic pieces in the cuts. But I don't remember anyone saying that they found the pool or anything like that in the Texas home. So everyone's just saying he's cooked. And his parents were in town. Redditor posted it. Apparently his parents were in Los Angeles around the time. He posted a video with his sister the next day, still in his 100 Thieves outfit. Wow, that's crazy. Yes. People are asking, where did he hide the body from the date of the murder and the dismemberment? I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. Do we know? It's crazy. So yeah, more reaction on Reddit to the dismemberment in the garage. People saying, what breaks my heart is that no one would have found it if it wasn't for his carelessness in disposing of her body. Sorry, no one would have found out. The way her parents did not pull up every day at his house or alert the media about their missing daughter is beyond me. And a lot of people are calling out the parents. I still don't think it's fair to call out the parents at this stage. It says, took her to Las Vegas, London, and Texas. How did he take a missing minor out the state? But London? And isn't he getting charged with kidnapping and trafficking? That part, the fuck. How are children flying to London without proper ID?
What?
I agree. That one floored me, honestly. What? I didn't know you could take... I ain't even trying to say that like some weird shit, like that's something I want to do, but like I would have just assumed you can't just rock up to... If there's one place... If you were trafficking a minor and you had a minor kidnapped, I would say the one place you're going to slip up and they're going to spot what's going on and stop you would be the airport. I'm not going to lie. One time, a very scary drill rapper who I shan't name with alleged bodies wanted to link up and talk to me. I said, I'll link up with you at the airport. I said, I'll link up with you at JFK because that's the only place where I'm pretty certain a crime ain't going to go down. But come to find out, we got people transporting 14-year-olds throughout the international airports and going to London. Absolutely crazy. Okay. So this is about how David did it and tried to cover it up. Didn't really try very hard. It says he's so stupid buying the weapon on Amazon and postmating is crazy. Maybe he did work alone. He said he ordered an Uber to bring her to his home and pretended she never arrived. He brought all the tools to discard of the body online and had him delivered to his home address a day after the murder. I think this answers the question whether he's really dumb enough to think he can keep a corpse in the front on a public street unnoticed. This has got to be the first TikTok-brained murder. This has got to be the first. His brain was so demolished by Reddit gooning and TikTok. These aren't jokes. I'm not cracking jokes. This guy really just thought you could just DoorDash and Postmates your way out of the murder. I'm not making a joke. This is stupidity on a whole other level, and he deserves the consequences of being so dumb. Honestly, so everyone's just calling him out. They're saying, "What an effing idiot! Did he think that Uber doesn't track their drivers' routes? He did absolutely everything on his phone, even ordering the tools for disposal to be hand delivered to his house. It's honestly hard to believe somebody could be so stupid. I agree. This is a really good one. I think it's sheer arrogance. He wasn't even making a great attempt at hiding Celeste either. had been questioned by the police prior to her death and still made not many great attempts to cover his tracks. Stupidity, absolutely, but also just complete arrogance and believing he would get away with it like he had been for years of being with her. This is a guy that was very successful. He was recording bullshit little hipster songs on his iPhone in his closet, and he became famous and did billions of streams with very little talent. You know, there's been rumors he's stealing song ideas from people, all types of shit. This guy was so arrogant, he thought he had the Midas touch and everything he touched in his life turned to gold, but that was not true. He thought he could do anything. I can get to the top. I got a deal with Interscope, $1 million deal. Oh, I got multiple properties in the Hollywood Hills. I can't do no wrong. He thought he could do anything. He thought the murder would play out just like his illustrious career. And thank God that's not the case. It says this fool really ordered an Uber to bring her to him. They will have proof of this ride and testimony from the driver. Right? So I want to hear from all the people that were saying David didn't do it. I don't think he did it. And some of you guys are my friends, all right? Some of you guys are my friends. He didn't. I don't think he did it. I don't think if he did it, why hasn't he been arrested? I need to hear from all of you. All you fools need to. Everybody that was said, I didn't think David do it. I don't think he did it. I don't think I'm signing up. No. He's an idiot if he really thought this was going to work. Disgusting piece of shit. Interesting, they've managed to narrow her death down to a 20-minute window. I wonder what evidence they have to show that he stood by while she bled out. I don't think it's video because they would have mentioned it, right? And like, what, recorded it while she bled out? Also, what was he doing in Lake Kahuma all night? It says, apparently, okay, from the injuries, it would have meant her death was slow and it's alleged David stood by and made sure she was dead. That's crazy. It said they know the window when the Uber arrived. When he left the house, the Uber driver must have been called up by the DA. Poor driver was the last one except David to see her alive. That's so sad. It's crazy. All right. Yeah. It's the same. Did he put the knife somewhere in Santa Barbara? Such a doofus. He tried to hide the murder weapon but kept the inflatable pool. I don't know if they kept the inflatable pool. They're saying that he dumped the passport in Lake Kahuma. It says, is this the Santa Barbara trip LAPD referenced in their statement? I wonder if he was planning on dumping the body. I think he was. It said, that's what I'm thinking. It sounds like he came back from there and immediately bought a shovel days before he bought anything else. He was saying, I think he went there to drain her blood on that creek and then he brought the body back. That's what an anime character would do. Wow. Oh, somebody find the radio interview. I'm curious to see how he behaves. It says, I noticed instantly at 1:12 in the video, he slips up and almost says freezer when trying to say figuratively. I wonder if the freezer was where she was at. Wow. Should we check it out? Is this the interview that he did right after? They said it was a radio interview, but maybe this was the interview.
But I feel like it can sometime.
And that's him talking about her not being around anymore. Let's hear this part of the start where he slips up and says something. Let's see how he presents himself at the start.
That is Stanley. Welcome back to the studio, a human being who is a prolific, genre-bending artist whose music has gone viral many times, like beyond many times. You're really special.
Thank you.
And yeah, we have a lot to discuss. Everybody say hello to D4vD.
D4vD.
David.
I love that.
How many ways have you heard people pronounce your name over the years?
D4vD, DV4D, D4vD.
But it is
David.
Right. It is David.
Like, yeah, it is David. I'm kind of owning the D4vD thing now. Like, a lot of people are calling me that, so I'm like, it might just be the word.
Wait, look, I mean, we've been saying it for a long time, but mainly as a joke. And my greatest fear came true, which is I just casually said it, and I didn't really intentionally want to do that.
That's so funny.
It just flows nicely.
Right, D4vD.
It just feels good.
D4vD. Yeah.
You really are a special human being, though. We have an entire album to discuss, and are you withered, man? Like, what's up?
You know, like, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now.
Genuinely?
Returning, well, figuratively, spiritually, that's like, I want to dive into this album as my entire aesthetic and my entire being is like withered. My entire being.
What does it mean to be withered?
So the entire aesthetic of this project is returning to the dust. A rose grows from the dirt and then it also decays back into the dirt. So with this project, the way I made it, the way I'm talking about the themes on this project, the way I'm talking about my emotions and my feelings, it's all returning to the dirt with this. It's like a entire life cycle.
Okay.
He is tapped, man. He is tapped. Can you believe it? Did he really go to this interview less than 12 hours after committing the murder and say all of that? I can't believe it.
In a life cycle that connects to the other EPs, possibly Petals to Thorns, and then the Lost Petals.
Yep. it's all a through line. So basically with Petals of Thorns, I view that as my intro. That was my debut, you know. And then with The Lost Petals, it's kind of continuation of that story. And then this is like the ending of it. So people use their debut sometimes like, oh, this is me and this is me in my art. But this is like the closing of a chapter, especially for like my main fans, even for the new people that's coming in, they can recontextualize my music with the previous project. So it's a good way for everybody to get into it.
By listening all together.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go through what that life cycle means. So we, at what stage of Withered is dying? So you're going into dust, but you're coming back again. Is that what I'm getting through those 13 records?
It's definitely like a resurrection type of thing. So, but by the end of the project, it's done. So that's why the last track is called Afterlife. That's like the final blow, you know?
How long did it take you to come up with this? Because when you were on our show 2 years ago, you said you had something in the works, but you ended up getting rid of those records?
Yeah, it was like an interesting thing because when I talked to you about that, it was like I had a very clear vision, but then I had lived not that much life, you know? And then I went on all these tours, and I went on tour with SZA, and I was meeting this person, and this producer, and that artist, and this like, and I was just getting all lost in the sauce, and I had to kind of take a few steps back. So the first couple projects that I made, a couple iterations of Withered, one was like an R&B project, one was like a pop project, and nothing really felt like me. So I kind of had to bring it back with this last one and maybe one more shot.
Was it all titled Withered throughout that, or
nah? Like there was a concept and there was a story there that I want to continue, but there was no name, there was no like theme of the songs, and you know, because I'm writing at this point about myself and my emotions and my vulnerability, and I wasn't doing that a lot last, you know, couple projects because I was homeschooled, you know.
Hey, you were living a different life.
Yeah, I was doing that a lot last, you know, couple projects because I was homeschooled, you know.
Hey, you were living a different life.
Yeah, I didn't have nothing to talk about like that, and people were asking me, "How'd you write all these beautiful songs when you have no relationship?" I was like, "Man, I'm a prophet, bro. I just spoke it into my own life, like, you know." Crazy.
But okay,
you just spoke into your own life, all the afterlife, with it, all that. You just spoke into your own life.
This is crazy. He said he called himself a prophet. A prophet of what? Murder? Fuck out of here.
Happy 20th birthday.
Thank you.
Literally the other day.
Yeah.
Like you just
Wait. What? Hang on. Okay. I was thinking for a second, don't tell me his birthday was right before, but actually his birthday was like a little bit even further before that. So I was thinking for a second, that's crazy. But anyway, do you see that? Yeah, there you go. So you can see that. So, all right, that's not what I want to show you.
Literally the other day.
Yeah.
Like you just turned 20. You're technically out of teen years, but you're still like a kid.
Yeah, literally, man. I'll be going to arcades. I'll be going to Chuck E. Cheese.
By the way, rumor has it Chuck E. is actually opening an arcade version of Chuck E. Cheese, like in a mall.
For real?
Yeah, I saw it on TikTok.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So look, I could watch this whole thing. This bit's been overly replayed. Let me check this out, and then I'll go back to the Reddits.
Is there?
I'm glad you noticed that.
Oh, dude, you're here, Ghost. Really, really special.
Understood the workflow. It was super synergistic. Yeah.
It's really special.
What?
Really, really special. Both songs, Sky and Ghost, you can hear a bunch of different influences there.
I'm glad you noticed that.
Oh, dude, you're hearing a little bit of the Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Get some Jeff Buckley energy.
Yes, sir.
I also get a Chicken Little reference.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Afterlife, you got a little bit of Tom York, a little bit of Radiohead.
What's fueling those musical influences? Who's prompting the music in your life? Where's it coming from? How are you
Literally me discovering things by myself. Like, I don't get sent too much music.
You're just on the internet?
So crazy. Yeah, I'm just, bro, my screen time is crazy. My screen time's so crazy. I just be on SoundCloud just looking for like old demos and stuff, like Jeff Buckley demos, unreleased stuff, Radiohead's unreleased projects, things I didn't make albums. I'm just looking for the oddballs and the outliers of popular artist music, because I feel like when I'm making my own music and there's stuff that doesn't make the album, it's low-key your best work. So
okay, we get the gist. I'm kind of tired of the pseudo intellectual acts from David. We done heard all that before, okay? We done heard it all before. But anyway, there's a few more reactions, and then I'm going to show you the alleged footage of him parking the Tesla. So obviously people are just still in shock. There's dozens of posts going up because this has been the biggest bombshell that we've had in this case thus far, I would say. And people just can't believe that he really went on Amazon to order these tools, okay? People saying it gets worse every day. Sick to my stomach. All right, she died such a horrible death, stabbed in the liver as a slow death, very painful death. May he rot in hell. Justice for Celeste. This dude is a real demon. He probably got euphoric from her dying. I do believe if he wasn't in a jail cell right now, he would do it again. He already had some other little girls lined up, and I do believe that they were next. It's messed up. It says they need to put him down. Poor girl had to suffer through this psychopath. I'm so mind-boggled by the stupidity. Uber tracks the drivers. You can literally track the Uber as they're coming to you. Was he planning on framing the Uber driver or something? He said, I genuinely think he believed that the family would report her as a missing person again and it wouldn't go anywhere. The arrogance is just unthinkable. Okay, people are reacting to the chainsaw being used. Wow, imagine what else the prosecution has. His goose is cooked. Okay. Oh my God, delivered a shovel with Postmates and got chainsaws and inflatable pool from Amazon. It keeps on getting worse. It is crazy. Okay. Now, people have been speculating, why didn't he actually use that incinerator that he bought? Well, there might be a good reason. And this is a comment basically breaking down why that might not have been such a good idea. He says, as this guy says, as a potter, I can tell you he was definitely having trouble finding a place to operate that incinerator. Kilns and incinerators go to the same temperature as high as 2300 degrees, and ceramic kilns need specialized high voltage outlets to plug into. You can't just plug that shit into a normal house outlet. And according to Google, a lot of industrial incinerators can't even be plugged into walls. They have to be physically wired to a power supply. People are saying that's why I think it was still in the box and unused. Thanks for that bit of info. Wonder how he was even able to buy one in the first place. It just shows that if you have enough money, you can inquire pretty much anything. And people are saying, I can't even count on all my fingers and toes how many times I've said to myself out loud, wow, this guy's really effing dumb. It says it was a burn cage that doesn't require electricity to operate, basically a metal box that contains the fire. That being said, you can't just burn a body in your yard in the Hollywood Hills. The smell would be horrific. Plus, I'm sure the fire department would be called by a neighbor. Okay, this was a burn cage, apparently just a foldable metal box, no electrical power. But anyway, so this is really interesting. So I believe David's lawyer, Blair Burke, just complained that the court were being one-sided and they might taint the jury pool if they weren't able to seal this request. That was unsuccessful. The request has been revealed and it's very dark. So I'll explain this to you with context, right? It says prosecutors filed a brief that David's lawyer, Blair Burke, complained. They said this is a one-sided brief asking for this. It could taint the jury pool. She wanted the judge to seal it, but the judge said no. So reporters are trying to get a copy of that brief, and it said Judge Olmedo specified that the protective order means David cannot keep a copy of any discovery information in his jail cell, no photos, no documents, not anything else. If his lawyers believe he needs to get a copy of something, they have to get the judge permission to give it to him. What that sounds like to me is that they're basically saying that David is so depraved and twisted, they can't even let him have the photos and the discovery of, you know, the body, the messages sent to Celeste. And I'm not joking when I say this. He is a self-proclaimed gooner. He is a freak. He is addicted to gore. He, we know, would get off on having this discovery. He would love to be locked up in a jail cell with no one watching, and he's got pictures and reams of pictures of the body, pictures of mine, of the illegal photos and videos that were on his phone. So the judge said absolutely not, and it sounds like prosecutors didn't even want the court to know that that request was being made because that would prejudice them. But at the end of the day, if this guy is such a I'm not even joking. If this guy is such a diabolical gooner, he can't even be trusted with the photos from the crime scene in a cell as part of his prison discovery. There is something very, very wrong with this person. Okay, it's twisted. All right, it is so twisted. So here's what this means: before trial, the prosecution must provide to the defense attorneys any and all evidence they plan to use against David, and any evidence that tends to show that David may not be guilty. Typically, the defense will provide David with copies of all the evidence for them to keep so they can review it on their own and assist with defense. However, in this case, the judge ruled David cannot be given a copy of the evidence against him, likely because it has a lot of illegal videos which are illegal to possess, and he can't be trusted with it. The ruling was made pursuant to a brief filed by the prosecution asking the judge to make it. David's lawyers are arguing this brief is prejudicial against David, and if it gets out, it could taint the jury pool or make them think David is guilty before they've even seen the evidence. So they're asking for this to be kept secret from everyone except the judge and lawyers on each side. Typically, all court filings are public record and can be viewed by anyone unless they're under seal. And apparently there was some other requests made by David. This was going around a couple of days ago, actually. But he had apparently, okay, and this is SF, it said, although David's legal team has not filed a motion to unseal the search warrants, they did file two motions they considered important. First, they requested David be allowed to wear civilian clothing for the preliminary hearing instead of a jail-issued jumpsuit. That motion was denied. Second, they requested he be allowed to receive a haircut prior to the preliminary hearing. That motion was granted. Now, I wonder if that is purely because, if you watch the video of me at the courthouse, me and my guy, Young Camel, one of the first things we noticed, I thought his hair was looking a mess. All right, he was looking withered. All right, hair was definitely looking withered. I wonder if that got back to him. I wonder if that was bad press and it got back to him and he said, oh, I need to get some civilian clothes. Because the first thing I said when I came out there, I said it was crazy to watch him come in an orange jumpsuit and his hair was looking crazy. He was looking a mess. And I don't know, maybe the defense keep track of some of the media and what they're saying about him and they try and correct course. They're trying to get him in there for a haircut, man. And he's been granted it. People are saying he's so vain. No, I don't think it's to look presentable to the judge. He wants to look good for his audience. He craves attention, right? It says if all he cares about is his social media presence and if little girls think he looks cute in the courtroom, don't worry, David, the inmates don't have a preference. So anyway, last thing I'm going to show you guys is there's actually apparently footage that's been shared of David driving the car and parking it for the last time, as it was revealed in court. Interesting sound for this. The sound? No. So apparently that was shared, and that is the last person driving the car, and it's David, allegedly. Okay. So now the prosecution has released a briefing for the preliminary hearing in the David case. We are releasing the surveillance footage of the Tesla being moved on July 29th. The driver is lighter skinned with long hair, wearing a red jersey. That's interesting because he was basically, it said, if this is the video he's been referring to, that's not conclusive at all to identify the driver. Those red bits are square video artifacts. It says people are going to downvote this, but as someone who's done video editing and all that shit, you're right. This is just artifacts. The only identifiable thing appears to be a nose. It says, I can make out what appears to be David's typical hairstyle. So it sounds like the red artifacts made him think that it was Neo. Let's watch it one more time and see if we can actually see anything. Can we actually see anything? They're saying they think they can see David's. I'm not seeing anything. Honestly, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything. I can't make them out. I can't make them out at all. That's just my opinion, though. But apparently it is David who is the last person who basically drove the car, as it's been reported. David was the last person to drive the Tesla. That footage has been going around. I can't wait to see what SF has to say after all that beating around the bush and insisting it wasn't David. Yeah, that's gonna be tricky. All right. So SF's got a few more updates. He's apparently saying that the defense are now trying to hide more information. So it says, from the David hearing continued until May 26th, the speedy preliminary was a bluff by the defense. The game of hide the ball from the public has started. The judge agreed to put a protective order on the search warrants and affidavit, as well as the grand jury transcripts. So much for an open and transparent system. David's defense even asked for a simple brief to be sealed. So apparently now, basically, they're saying that David's defense were bluffing when they said, all right, let's do a quick preliminary. And now the prosecution have said, well, look at all this evidence. It's horrific. We've got blood in the garage. We've got a blue inflatable pool. Bits of blue plastic are in the wound. The bluff has been called, and now David's defense are scrambling. And according to SF, they're trying to hide the ball from the public. So saying we can't let any more of this information get out. We need to put protective orders on everything. And apparently the judge did agree to the protective order. So we won't be getting information about what was in those search warrants. We won't be getting the affidavits, and we won't be getting any of the grand jury transcripts. So all of the stuff that was shared in that grand jury, everyone's testimony, Neo, all right, Robert Morgenroth, all of them guys, and everyone else that we don't even know about, that's all going to be kept from us, all right? And SF is basically saying, so much for an open and transparent system, all right? So that's what he's saying, all right? So there's a couple other things that I was going to bring up. I won't talk about them today because they're not really relevant. They're not really related to this paperwork that's just come out. But look, this is probably the most damning update that we've had. We've had a lot of bits of information, the car, the identification, a lot of the music being self-snitching. To me, this case looks unwinnable. The blood in the garage, Uber drive from her house to your house. She disappears. You send a couple messages. No one's buying that. I think his legal team are going to abandon him. This is so bad. I think his legal team will abandon him, and he might have to just plead guilty. Because what on earth are you going to do? The best thing you can do is plead guilty and just not get the death penalty at this point. It's absolutely outrageous. So look, all right, I'm back in my setup. I'll be back tomorrow with some more videos and some updates for you guys. I don't know if there's going to be any new David info by tomorrow. If there's not, I'll cover some other stories. If there is, I might dig into a couple other aspects of this that I thought were interesting that didn't relate to this paperwork. But yeah, man, I rushed home to check this out and read this and find out what was going on, and it's worse than I could have possibly imagined. I'm going to try and get to some of the upcoming court dates if possible. If I'm still in the area, I'm actually very sad I wasn't able to make it today because I think there were some really, really big developments. I would have loved to have been there to witness that firsthand, just as part of this historic and very sad case that is just really, really important. Just for the safety of the public, really, and just for justice to be done. And I would like to see justice be done in this case firsthand, because this is just a heinous crime, and whoever did it, allegedly David, deserves to go down, and it just gets worse and worse every time. So look, that's it for me today. Let me know what you thought of all the updates. Really, really sad, man. I'm out.
What the incentive?
Man, y'all tell me what it sound like. What it really sound like to you. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Let your boy know something. All right? I'm out.